You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week.
Hi, I'm Alex Bell, and you are watching ABC10 This Week. The final California governor's debate before the primary was held this week, and the debate included talks of affordability and a lot of criticism between candidates. In dollars and cents, some home buyers are now securing 3% mortgage rates through loan assumptions, and we also break down how the process works and why it may not be so easy. Then, of course, we have the Backroads' John Bartel heading to the foothills for a Mountain Man rendezvous where history is recreated one rifle shot and one tomahawk throw at a time. ABC 10 This Week starts now.
Tonight was another debate in the race for governor here in California. 7 of the top candidates faced off in what could be the final major debate before the primary on June 2nd.
While the issues range from housing to climate, one candidate spent much of the night defending himself. ABC 10's Garshpal Sangha joins us in studio now with how things played out. And Garshpal, it got a little heated at times.
It did, Chris and Laura. That CBS debate held in San Francisco focused on affordability, housing, climate, and the education. But one issue quickly took center stage.
This is the California governor's debate.
7 candidates, 90 minutes. And another chance to pitch California voters on why they should lead the nation's largest state.
We don't need career politicians who never met a crisis they couldn't ignore or divisive MAGA candidates.
We need a doer, a problem solver, someone who's willing to take on the other side, work with them, but also take on our side when they're wrong.
I'm the billionaire who's willing to tax the other billionaires and himself, who's willing to take on the corporate special interests, who's dedicating himself to driving down costs for working people across this state.
Candidates rolled out competing ideas to tackle California's cost of living, from childcare to tuition relief.
I have a plan to lower housing costs, for free childcare, to eliminate tuition in our state universities, and to put money back in your pocket.
The debate turned into a barrage aimed at former Health and Human Services Secretary and California Attorney General Javier Becerra. Former aide Dana Williamson accepted a plea deal Thursday, tied to a federal corruption case for helping steal money from a dormant campaign account. Becerra is not accused of wrongdoing, and prosecutors have called him a victim. Still, rivals pressed him hard.
It pains me to say it because I like you personally, Javier, but you shouldn't be on this stage. You shouldn't be in this race. You should be preparing your criminal defense.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. Mr. Becerra, you'd like to respond? You have 30 seconds.
Sure. With friends like that, who needs enemies? I was not involved in the wrongdoing. I had nothing to do with that. I did nothing wrong.
We do not know what Dana Williamson said about your involvement, and the government will have the ability to reveal that later.
He wasn't minding the shop. I mean, the Biden administration had to sideline him during COVID. This is not the leadership we need.
This is what happens when you take the lead in the polls.
Making their closing pitch to voters.
We need some balance in our system. No more one-party rule. And the reason that I can make the change happen is precisely because I get on with people from all different backgrounds.
I'm the only person who can tell you that the moment I walk into that office, I've been through a challenge that you face when you become the governor of the 4th largest economy in the world.
California is broken, and we have listened here 90 minutes. Not one thing got answered by any of them. We're sick of being lied to.
And so the candidates are now racing into the final stretch before the June 2nd primary. Now, mail-in ballots must be dropped off, postmarked by Election Day. If not, vote in person. Chris and Laura.
Garshpal Sangha, we thank you for the update tonight.
We start tonight with Governor Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff pleading guilty to federal charges.
It's part of a plea agreement and follows a scheme to siphon money from a campaign account belonging to Javier Becerra, reaching a total of $225,000. Neither Becerra nor Newsom has been accused of any wrongdoing by federal officials.
At the time, Becerra was U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary under President Biden. Now he's the frontrunner in California's race for governor. ABC 10's Becca Hamburger joins us now in studio to explain the impact of today's court hearing. Becca.
Laura and Chris, Dana Williamson served as Newsom's chief of staff from late 2022 until late 2024, when she was put on leave amid a federal corruption investigation, resulting in the case we're talking about today. Here's Dana Williamson entering the federal courthouse in Sacramento Thursday morning. Cameras are not allowed inside. There, she pleaded guilty to 3 counts of federal felonies: conspiring to commit bank and wire fraud, subscribing to a false tax return, and making false statements to the FBI. In exchange, the federal government dropped the 20 other charges against her. Of the 3 main co-conspirators involved in this case, she is the 3rd and final to plead guilty. All admit to a scheme in which Williamson and a lobbyist named Greg Campbell directed $10,000 a month to Sean McCluskey for his personal use. Becerra, at the time, was serving as U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary under then-President Biden. McCluskey was his chief of staff. Becerra had a dormant fund for a potential future 2030 state superintendent campaign, which he couldn't touch while serving as HHS Secretary. Williamson and McCluskey asked him to approve paying $10,000 a month from the fund for its management while in dormancy. Becerra agreed to that. But according to federal prosecutors, Williamson's attorney, and Becerra's spokesperson, Becerra had been lied to and did not know the money was actually being funneled to McCluskey's wife for the family's personal use. After Thursday's hearing, Williamson's attorney, McGregor Scott, echoed that.
My client has told me from day one that she never had any direct communication with Javier Becerra about this. Her communication about this whole concept was exclusively through Mr. McCluskey. Mr. McCluskey represented her that he had talked to Mr. Becerra on multiple occasions, and everything was good to go.
ABC10 asked Becerra to respond to Williamson's guilty pleas. He told ABC10 in a statement, quote, "As I said from day one, I was not involved. I did nothing wrong, and now the record confirms it. We can close the book on this." Newsom has also said he knew nothing about Williamson's involvement in this scheme until she came under investigation, at which time he put her on administrative leave. ABC10 asked Newsom about Williamson's guilty pleas Thursday.
It's hard. I just think of her daughter. But also mindful of accountability. We're all got to be held to the letter of the law and accountable.
Of course, all of this is happening against the backdrop of the June 2nd primary. Becerra is the Democratic frontrunner for governor, according to a poll released Wednesday. Scott, former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of California, said the Department of Justice has a long-standing policy against taking actions that might affect the outcome of an election, generally applied within a 60-day window before a vote.
I will tell you very candidly, we requested to put this event today over until after the primary in what we perceive to be compliance with that policy, and the government wanted to go forward today.
ABC10 reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District about timing around the election and have not immediately heard back. Williamson's attorney says federal sentencing guidelines could put his client at 2.5 to 3 years in prison, though he's going to argue for a lesser sentence to be served on home detention. Williamson's next court date is set for July 9th. Her attorney says sentencing will likely take place in September or October. McCluskey's and Campbell's sentencings are both set for June 4th.
In tonight's Dollars and Cents, we're answering a viewer question about the housing market. With interest rates so high these days, at times reaching more than 6%, many of you are trying to find ways to keep costs down. Tonight, we explain what it means to assume a mortgage. Viewer Laura writes, a friend of ours just bought their first home by assuming a 3% mortgage rate from the sellers. Can you explain how that works? Seems like a great way to bypass the higher interest rates right now. I took this question to real estate broker Kevin Otto, the owner of Greenhaven Capital. Can you explain how that works?
So if you're assuming someone's mortgage, it means you're buying a house and the buyer is going to take over the seller's existing mortgage and keeping that low rates.
Assuming a mortgage allows a buyer to take over a seller's existing home loan, including the remaining balance, interest rate, and repayment term.
A seller that may have bought their house, in 2021 or 22 when rates were really low, locked into 3%, you could essentially try to assume that person's loan. So instead of getting a loan at today's higher rates, they're stepping into an older loan at a 3% rate or a lower rate, which could make that loan very attractive and help with affordability.
It's primarily used for FHA, VA, and USDA loans, which are government-sponsored loans, to secure lower than market interest rates, requiring the buyer to pay the seller for the home equity difference. Assuming a mortgage may get you into a lower rate, but Odo says this comes with big caveats you need to be aware of.
It's possible, but but it's not as easy as it sounds. So the loan, first of all, has to be assumable. And typically it's only FHA or VA or USDA loans that are assumable. So conventional loans are typically not assumable.
Otto also says the buyer still has to qualify with that seller's existing lender, just like a normal loan. But one of the biggest challenges is timing.
Assumptions can take a couple of months to complete. So in a competitive market where a seller could be getting multiple offers, most sellers aren't going to wait that long if they have faster options. So it could be a really good opportunity, but it's not something a buyer can necessarily rely on.
So remember when I said the buyer would also have to pay the seller the home equity difference, meaning paying the difference between the current loan balance and the purchase price. Otto says most lenders are not going to give a second mortgage on an assumed mortgage to bridge that gap. So you, as the buyer, will have to find a way to come up with the money. Stream all of our Dollars and Cents coverage on the free ABC10 app. Email me your money questions at lpainter@abc10.com.
10 on Your Side is getting results for a disabled PG&E customer in Stockton. He says he was hit with a more than $1,000 gas bill and spent months trying to get the issue addressed until we stepped in to help.
You saved the day in every way.
Viewer Mark Stebbins sent 10 on Your Side this message saying, I am a disabled resident of Stockton, enrolled in PG&E's Care and Medical Baseline program. My latest energy statement demands a completely unmanageable $1,079.55. Buried in these charges is a staggering $650 for, quote, gas corrections, covering October 2025 through February 2026. Despite my disabled status and their written admission of fault on the statement itself, PG&E refuses to adjust the bill.
Really stressed me out on a daily basis, to tell you the truth. And I'm just so thankful that 10 on Your Side stepped forth and did something.
We went straight to PG&E for answers, and within 24 hours, they sent 10 on Your Side this statement, saying we confirmed that there was an issue with the PG&E gas meter and communicating back the customer's gas usage, which resulted in PG&E providing the cost based on averages from the prior year. PG&E has replaced the customer's gas module. We were also able to offset the increased charges associated with the billing corrections and the delayed billing.
I didn't expect a resolution so quickly.
Mark says PG&E processed a credit to his account of $774.
I was thanking Jesus.
Do you have a problem and don't know where else to turn? ABC10 is here to help. Email me at onyourside@abc10.com.
If you're at the state capitol, the Capitol Annex project is definitely one that you can't miss. Tonight, we're learning key updates on that taxpayer-funded building, which will house the governor, lieutenant governor, legislators, and hundreds of staff. ABC10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Hubb breaks down the latest for us.
This is the Capitol Annex, this glass building slowly but surely reaching completion. It's pretty hard to miss if you're out here in downtown Sacramento. Big updates from project leaders. They say as of April, the annex is about 55% complete and has spent $632 million in taxpayer dollars.
We will continue to take steps that will deliver this project on time without asking for any more money.
We do not intend, and I will repeat that, we do not intend to request additional funding from the legislature.
The Capitol Annex will cost a total $1.1 billion in taxpayer dollars, project leaders confirm, and it's on track to be completed by October 2027. Democrats Assemblymember Blanca Pacheco and State Senator John Laird are the chair and vice chair, respectively, of the Joint Rules Committee, the legislative body that oversees the project.
Excited that you're here today to obtain this vital information.
Construction is now shifting to the interior with a little under $400 million left to spend and 1 million hours of construction reached. But there is an estimated $98 million cost overrun, which project leaders say will be addressed without asking for more money, like by scratching the initial proposal of a visitor center as part of the project,
including funds previously allocated to the visitor center, reducing landscape scope, and additional project efficiencies.
For years, the project has been criticized over transparency, with all those involved, including the chair and vice chair, signing non-disclosure agreements. Do you feel that they have maintained an open door policy?
And I think when everyone on a project signs an NDA, that quite literally makes it impossible for you to share information, I wouldn't say that that's transparency.
Republican Assemblymember Josh Hoover has pushed a proposal to do away with the annex NDAs and those in future public projects.
One of the reasons actually given for making this structure glass was that government should be transparent and the building should reflect government. I find that very ironic.
So NDAs are a norm, and it's not to prevent transparency. For us, it's important to be transparent.
Project leaders pushed back, arguing the NDAs are to preserve security, like building layout. Hoover also criticizes the lack of routine cost updates, saying this December report, which addressed some cost and timeline updates, wasn't enough. Leaders said it's because they hired a new project manager.
So as soon as we were able to get information, we were able to provide it.
So you yourselves didn't quite know what the project total would come out to be?
No, we did not.
Until you got the report from?
Correct.
Okay.
Jenny Ha, ABC 10.
And we reached out to Governor Newsom's office for comment on the annex updates, but we did not hear back. While Newsom does not oversee the project, he has consistently expressed support for more transparency.
Years after Governor Newsom placed a moratorium on executions and introduced plans to dismantle death row, there's now a new model in place at San Quentin State Prison. It's focused on rehabilitation and workforce training. Today, To The Point host Alex Bell went inside the prison to see what's changed to help prepare incarcerated people for life after release.
This is my second time reporting inside San Quentin, and one thing that really stands out is the environment feels completely different than what most people probably expect. Inside, there is a brand new learning center with open spaces and classrooms. Honestly, it feels more like a college campus than a correctional facility. Inside those walls, changes are happening, and state leaders say those changes are intentional. From the outside, the renamed San Quentin Rehabilitation Center still looks like the historic prison Californians have known for generations. Inside is something entirely different. An old warehouse is now an 80,000 square foot learning center. It's part of the state's effort to turn San Quentin into what leaders call a new California model for rehabilitation and workforce training.
I've worked for the Department of Corrections for 23 years. What I've seen is that when you provide people with better opportunities, they choose to make better choices. And so that's really what San Quentin is about.
With open walkways, computer classrooms, and hands-on training, the new learning center is one of the biggest physical changes made to the San Quentin campus in decades, all to create an environment that prepares inmates for life outside prison and keep them from returning.
And I want to pursue college when I get out of here, so I know that everything that I did while I was incarcerated, it wasn't just for me. It was for people in society, my family, the family that I hurt as well. So that way, when I do re-enter society, I won't hurt nobody else.
According to the CDCR's website, this project cost $239 million through a lease revenue bond. The Learning Center has programs like coding and its long-running journalism program designed to build job skills.
Yeah, I've been incarcerated since I was a teenager. In total, been going to 33 years now. You know, I feel like the dinosaur in the room because there was no computer whatsoever back in those days. It is a privilege.
One of the organizations leading the way, The Last Mile, says employment is one of the biggest factors in reducing the chances someone returns to prison.
I definitely got more hope now for when I get out, pursuing a career and actually learning new skills to where I can go out there and actually get a job.
But the transformation has also raised frustrations at the state capitol over costs and impact to victims, something we also asked inmates about during our visit.
The reality is that there's a lot of people that hurt people, hurt others. And if we can help people to heal right here in prison, we can probably diminish all the anger, all the hatred and violence going on in our society.
State officials say the long-term goal is public safety with successful reentry into communities. And the changes extend far beyond the learning center that we just showed you. We also learned that a part of the prison that once housed death row inmates is now being transformed into more housing for inmates. It's just part of the broader transformation happening here at San Quentin. Reporting in Marin County, I'm Alex Bell.
Happening now, history is being made in Stockton tonight. Around 1,300 students are getting ready to graduate.
San Joaquin Delta College says it's their largest class of graduates ever. ABC 10's Gabriel Porras is live downtown where the ceremony is just getting started. Such an exciting time, Gabriel.
Yeah, such an exciting time, Chris and Laura. The ceremony is just getting underway. As you mentioned, they're scheduled to start at 6 o'clock. And you can see there's still a lot of graduates who are lined up outside waiting to walk in. It's going to be a long process. And with so many people this year marking this major achievement, the celebration is going far beyond the arena's walls. For the first time in school history, the celebration for Delta College's graduation is literally spilling into the streets.
I believe we're going to have like a police escort.
Police closing streets downtown, and at least 4 RTD routes detoured, all to move a record-breaking wave of graduates through the heart of the city.
We had around 3,500 students apply for a degree or certificate this year. That's 800 more than last year. So even just a year-over-year basis has been a really substantial increase. That's why we're expecting probably somewhere around 1,300 grads to actually attend tonight.
It's a school record and a logistical challenge.
So when it became aware that we were going to have this many grads, we quickly went into pivot mode. We have rented out the Stockton Civic Auditorium, which is only about a block and a half from here. And we're asking the graduates to report there, and they're going to walk the block and a half from the auditorium to the arena.
To graduates, though, every step feels worth it.
I graduated in class of 2020, so I actually get to walk this time around, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
looking forward to that too. That was pretty cool, knowing that this is one of the bigger cohorts.
The surge in student school leaders say it's because of several reasons.
I think people are seeing the value of community college, the affordability. I think we're also doing more to support students once they're already at the college.
And tonight, the impact of this class stretches far beyond the arena floor.
It's enormously important to them. It's the kind of event that can really change the trajectory of their family for generations to come. So that's why it's so important for them to be here. We're thankful for folks partnering with us on this and giving us an opportunity to host the kind of celebration that these students deserve.
Then when you factor in families and friends, officials say around 8,000 people in total will be at the arena tonight. With so many people, it's hard to tell when this ceremony might end. Officials are expecting that could be around 8 in the evening, but again, it could be difficult to tell. But do expect plenty of congestion, plenty of traffic here in the downtown area, and plenty of celebration as well as this goes on. Live in downtown Stockton, Gabriel Forrest, ABC 10.
Something to keep in mind if you're out and about tonight, and we do want to say congrats to all the graduates.
Yes, we wish all the students the best of luck. Gabriel, thank you. This is where a surprise visitor made its way onto the UC Davis campus this week, and for a few hours, students were left wondering whether the videos online were real or just another college prank.
Yeah, ABC 10's Peter Warner spoke to students and wildlife officials about the bear that came on campus and the unexpected stop.
Yeah, guys, here on college campuses, of course, we know many people hear many stories. That's not uncommon. But a story about a bear on campus, now that is pretty rare. When students started hearing about a bear on the UC Davis campus, some thought it was fake.
I didn't believe it because I'd never heard of bears in California. So I was kind of put off by it, and I thought people weren't telling the truth.
Others were curious.
So last night I saw a clip of a video of a bear on Hutchinson Drive. So I went out kind of looking for him.
This all happened on Thursday night at around 10:30 in the West Village area of campus. Fish and Wildlife say bears like this, called yearling bears, who are around 2 years old, are experiencing their first spring without their mothers.
It's just like a young person, out of the house for the first time, finding their way on their own. And we suspect, it's impossible to say, but we suspect this bear originated in the Lake Berryessa area.
The young bear was last seen leaving campus through the student farm just after midnight, according to UC Davis.
It's a little bit worrying to see such an animal kind of straying from its natural habitat.
This isn't the first time a bear has been spotted on campus. In June of 2019, Fish and Wildlife officials captured a bear who had climbed a tree on campus.
Bears are back out on the landscape after their winters, right? And so, as we prepare for vacations or long weekends in the mountains, that sort of thing, we can expect to see bears. We should be prepared for bear activity.
And U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services has a couple tips when it comes to dealing with bears. One, of course, never approach a bear. 2, stay aware of your surroundings if you're spending time outdoors. 3, make sure you're taking care of trash, food, and scented items properly if you're in an area with bears. And 4, a little bit of a surprising run, actually never run from bears. In Davis, Peter Warner, ABC 10.
Before there were highways, before there were towns, there were mountain men. Back in the early 1800s, these rugged trappers would spend months, sometimes years, alone in the wilderness, hunting beaver, exploring new land, and surviving off the grid. Then, once a year, they'd all come together for something called a rendezvous.
Oh, it was wild. It was real wild. If you've ever seen the movie Mountain Man with Charlton Heston, they've got a rendezvous in there, and that's almost dead on.
A rendezvous was part trading post, part party. Trappers would swap furs for money, supplies, and of course, whiskey.
They would bring in free whiskey. And when you haven't seen whiskey for many, many months, you do a lot of drinking. In fact, it could be 2 weeks of a drunk.
Fast forward to today, and the rough mountain man world is still alive at the Sonora Smoke Pullers Rendezvous in Chinese Camp, California.
And what you're going to need to do is pull the hammer back.
Okay. These days, there's not a whole lot of whiskey around, but this event is all about stepping back into time to compete in various events, like black powder rifle shooting.
You got it.
There we go. Yeah, I feel like a mountain man. And then there's the tomahawk and knife throwing, which, let's say, looks a lot easier than it is. Now, don't worry if you're throwing just as bad as I am, because there's plenty of helpful and not so helpful advice.
My wife can throw better than that.
But that's part of the fun. There's a little friendly hazing that comes with the territory.
Easy throw.
I mean, they do everything. They'd have shooting contests, hawk and knife, throwing, just giving each other a hard time and enjoying every bit of it.
And just like the original gatherings, it's more than a competition. It's about living the lifestyle. Everyone here dresses the part in 1800s-style buckskin handmade gear. They even have nicknames.
I do have a rendezvous name.
Okay.
It's called Firebeard.
How does one get the nickname Firebeard, you ask? Well, getting too close to a fire, of course.
I mean, I'm doing this to get it out.
Hence the name Firebeard.
Firebeard, yep.
Staying in character is a big part of the event.
You kind of feel like you fit in by getting dressed up, and you kind of feel like part of that mountain man period.
Back in the day, mountain men weren't just trappers, they were explorers. They helped open up the West by guiding settlers to places like California and Oregon.
Like the Oregon Trail. They became wagon train guides. They would also do a lot of expeditions.
They followed rivers, crossed mountains, and always chased what was over the next hill. And today, that same free spirit is what keeps people coming back.
Lived their life the way they wanted to. There was no laws they had to stick to or what civilization wanted them to do. They did what they wanted.
From the Sonora Smoke Pullers Rendezvous, I'm John Bartell. Hope to see you on the back roads.
As always, thank you so much for watching ABC 10 This Week. We are here 24/7 on the free ABC 10 streaming app, and you can get your local news and weather anytime, anywhere. I'm Alex Bell. I'll see you next time.
And remember, the ABC 10 Weather Impact team is always here for you 24/7. Get the latest conditions anytime with our live 24/7 radar on our free TV streaming app. Just scan the QR code for easy instructions to download the ABC 10 app wherever you stream ABC 10.